Hey friends, I'm John, and this is my red-tail boa scarlet. I have quite a few years experience breeding ball pythons and creating social media. Take a quick second to smash those like and subscribe buttons because it helps grow my channel. And let's see what we have going on today. Today is going to be a very straightforward video. If you haven't heard the news, Brian Barczyk of BHB Reptiles, the Reptarium, and the upcoming Legacy Aquariums passed away after a long battle with cancer this week. And obviously it has touched a lot of people in the community. I've even seen national news as I'm surfing through Google, people mentioning his fame and prowess in the industry. So I kind of wanted to talk about what Brian has meant to me as a creator on YouTube. First of all, I want to send out my condolences to the Barczyk family, his crew, any of his friends that knew him. Unfortunately, I didn't get the chance to meet him. My whole journey in the ball python world actually started partially because of him. So if you don't know my story, I've been around reptiles my whole entire life. I'm 39 years old now. I've been keeping reptiles since I was probably 6 years old. So for, 30 plus years, I've been keeping reptiles. And I was never allowed to own snakes because, everybody's afraid of snakes because they're so evil. So in 2019, I purchased my first ever ball python because I was living on my own at that point. I already had a corn snake at that point before that, but I finally decided it was time to get a bigger snake. And I fell in love immediately with this snake. So the first thing I did after buying the snake is I went on YouTube and I started searching ball pythons. And of course, the first person I came across was Brian Barczyk, Snake Bites TV, and I went into that whole, that rabbit hole of just consuming every little piece of content that I could. And even at that point, in 2019, he was basically it. There were some other videos here and there were some other content creators, but nothing as widely and easily seen as Brian Barczyk and the Reptarium. I think at that point, he was doing a lot of building still in the Reptarium, adding things like that. But his content is kind of what grabbed me at first. It was very positive. You could tell that he had a passion for those animals, and I always kind of compared him to Steve Irwin. You could tell that they loved what they were doing and that they loved those animals, and they were very passionate about what they were talking about. So I kept watching that. I kept learning everything I could learn. That obviously made me spread out into watching other YouTube videos about ball pythons. But a lot of what I learned at first was because of Brian about ball pythons, about the ball python industry, about some of the issues I was having maybe with husbandry at that point, or trying to learn about breeding ball pythons, how to incubate eggs and everything like that. But I also saw that what he was doing and the views he was getting were kind of crazy and astounding, that somebody talking about snakes and reptiles was able to get that big of a following on social media, or in this case on YouTube. So at that point I really started building my collection, and he's basically the reason that I created my own YouTube channel. Now I'm nowhere even close to the amount of popularity that he has, and I do not post 7 days a week, and I've never really aspired to have the fame he has with it, but it definitely drove me to actually start my channel and to keep doing it, because I think the more information that's out there, the more widely spread this hobby is, I think the better it is for everybody. And it's a huge loss to not have Brian in front of the camera making that same content anymore, because I don't think there's anybody else currently that delivers the message and delivers the passion the way he does. And I don't know if there's anybody that can, because I think, personally for me, like when Steve Irwin died, I feel like that left a big hole in the community because everybody knew who Steve Irwin was. Everybody knew the crocodile hunter, internationally speaking. And I don't know if Brian ever kind of got to the point where Steve Irwin got, but specifically in the U.S., I mean, if you own a reptile, you probably know who Brian Barczyk is. You probably know what the Reptarium is. And I still, unfortunately, haven't had a chance to get to the Reptarium. That's something that's kind of on my list of to-dos. I wish I would have had the chance to go there when Brian was still around, to be able to meet him and maybe even pick his brain for a couple minutes, because I'm sure there was so much he knew that nobody else could ever really give you the tips or know-how with. He did a lot for this hobby, and his channel is going to continue with the new content to do things for the hobby. But I think his older videos that were published by him that had him in them, that kind of showed his passion for everything, is really what's going to live on and inspire new generations of reptile and ball python keepers in this hobby. And I think that's what everybody else kind of needs to pick up the slack on at this point, is just getting the content out there. And accurate content, informational content, fun content, positive content, especially on YouTube. It's very easy to post a photo on Instagram or post a quick reel, but it takes a little more dedication to actually produce content for YouTube. And the more that reptiles and ball pythons get in front of the masses, the better it is for everybody, because people are still afraid of these things. My own wife, she's down here all the time. She sees my 5-year-old holding these snakes, and she still has a little bit of fear in her. And those are the sorts of tropes that we need to start breaking down, so that people aren't just afraid of this hobby, and people aren't just passing stupid laws left and right, and that this industry is able to grow, with us breaking down those barriers of, hey, snakes aren't evil. Yeah, there's some nasty snakes out there, but there's also some nasty dogs, but people still buy dogs. Maybe they don't want pit bulls, but they're okay with a golden retriever. Well, maybe you don't want something a little more vicious, or maybe you don't want a Crebo, but a ball python isn't a Crebo. It doesn't have the attitude like that does. So with us making more content and showing people that, hey, there are snakes that are good pets, there are snakes that are not vicious, it is going to be a blessing for everybody in this industry. So that's where I think Brian made the biggest difference to this industry, is showing people that reptiles are cool, that animals are cool, and that they're not something to be afraid of. So that's going to be sorely missed, but I hope that I'm able to pick up some of that slack, and that everybody else is able to do that as well, because I think it's going to be a huge thing for this industry to show people that reptiles are cool, reptiles are fun, reptiles, not all reptiles are dangerous. So again, it's a huge loss for the industry, obviously for his family and friends and crew as well, but it's a huge loss for the industry, and nobody's ever going to be able to replace that. But everybody can sort of pull together and try to fill the gaps the best we can. So it's a sad week for everybody that knew him or that has watched him. May you rest in peace, Brian.